FireYourMDNow.com, FireYourMDNow.ca. Those are the only websites you need to know anything about, because those websites will change your life, just like they did for Evelyn in Alberta, just like they did for Arlen in Indiana, just like they did for Linda in Arizona. And now we're going to go to Pennsylvania and talk to Blake about Alzheimer's disease. Thanks for holding on, Blake. It's your turn now. You are live.
Hey, Dr. Glidden. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for hanging in there. How can I help?
Oh, no problem, no problem. I'm a acupuncturist from PA, and just calling for your help about my dad.
Gotta love it, brother. I gotta love acupuncture, man. How long have you been doing acupuncture?
About 3 years.
And what's your experience with the effectiveness of acupuncture in a clinical setting? Tell me, like, the most remarkable thing you've ever seen it fix.
Oh, dear. It's just so versatile. So I run a community clinic, and I try to give people affordable, like $15 to $30 price range so they can come back, because there's no help from Pfizer or anywhere else to give anything for practitioners except to build their own chi. So I've seen everything from chronic cystitis to palpitations and heart disease and low back pain, and I mean it's just a plethora of different symptoms and diseases. And
well, I get it. I'm with you 100%. And let me give you a little bit of insight into this. And please forgive me if I'm preaching to the choir. Don't know if you know this. Don't know if you've thought about it, but I have. And I'm a big fan of energy medicine. And folks, acupuncture is considered voodoo by conventional medicine, because the acupuncture meridians that acupuncturists manipulate with acupuncture needles are invisible. You cannot see them with any type of objectified instrumentation. Therefore, to the Newtonian-based, old-fashioned, out-of-date, Machiavellian, medieval, mediocre MD, these therapeutics are just placebo, as is homeopathy, as is Touch for Health, as is all other quote-unquote energy metaphysical medical treatments, right? If they don't fit with inside the box of MD-directed thought, then it just isn't valid, which means every medical doctor that doesn't believe in acupuncture or homeopathy is a hypocrite. They're hypocrites. Why? Because on the one hand, they'll say, oh, you have to measure this and you have to observe this, and if you can't objectively prove it, it is not valid. They'll tell you this on one hand with all seriousness and intention. And then on the other hand, they'll turn around and tell you that they love their mother. Well, prove it. Can you prove, doctor, that you love your mother? Prove it. Well, guess what? You can't prove that you love somebody, because that is a metaphysical experience. Love is a metaphysical experience. It is outside the bounds of normal physics to be able to explain the mechanism of love. Nobody can prove that they love anybody. And according to the MD, if you can't prove it objectively, it doesn't exist. So it's impossible for an MD to tell you that they love anybody on the one hand and then turn around and poo-poo things like homeopathy and acupuncture. But they do it all the time because they are backwards thinking, intellectually cowardly, Machiavellian ministers of doom. And they must be avoided like the freaking plague. But I digress. Now, here's what I've learned about energy medicine and medical nutrition. I've been licensed for 24 years, Blake. I've been licensed for 20 years. I've been doing clinical work for 24 years. And before I met Dr. Wallach 4 years ago, my main therapeutic intervention was homeopathy. I was and still am a classical homeopath. I mean, I've been to Paris to visit the founder of homeopathy, Samuel Hahnemann's grave. I mean, I was into it, and I'm very good at homeopathy. What I have experienced with homeopathy is interesting, and I bet you that if you start to get on board with longevity more and more and more with your patients who can afford it, you'll start to experience the same thing too. So let me line it up for you, and then I'll answer your question.
I totally agree, because even in Chinese medicine, nutrition is foundational. This is what they say. All the acupuncture and qigong and all of these other techniques and protocols are basically worthless without proper nutrition, and they knew that thousands of years ago. So I'm totally. I mean, it should be a no-brainer, and it's for some reason it's considered voodoo by the allopathic community or most of the community, and you know,
it's because they have their heads up their ass. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They do. They have their heads up their ass. It's backwards thinking, and the only reason that they're able to think like this is because they're in the majority. I mean, the only reason the slavers were able to think the way that they thought, you know, back in the 17th and the 18th and the 17th century, the early 19th century, is because they were in the majority. The only reason that the Ku Klux Klan was able to exist back in the day was because they were in the majority. And with time, these, you know, out of sync, groups of people around the world, they die out. But the MDs are going to die out slowly. But, you know, here, I don't know that you knew this or not, because I didn't know this until I met Dr. Wallach, and this was one of my eureka moments with Dr. Wallach. In medical nutrition, there are 90 essential nutrients that we need. 60 of the 90, two-thirds, 66% of the body's nutrient needs are minerals. Calcium and sulfur and zinc and sodium, right? Minerals. It's 66% of our nutrient needs. Minerals are found in the soil. Plants and animals can't make minerals, so unless the minerals are in the soil, and, you know, the plant is growing in the soil that has calcium in it, and then we eat the plant, we can't get the mineral into the body because our bodies just can't make minerals out of nothing. Now, before the industrial age and the discovery of electricity, the invention of electricity, especially in China back in the day, everybody cooked and heated with wood. And guess what they would do with the wood ash? They would put the wood ash in their gardens, the gray ash around the periphery of the fire they'd put into their gardens, and the white ash directly underneath the pot of the stove in the center of the fire pit was the hottest, and it was white because the heat of that part of the fire burned all the excess carbon away. And the ash that was in the middle of the stove was called potash because it was bone white. They would put the potash in their bread, in their soups, and in their stews, and they would put the gray ash in their garden. So back in the day, when people were putting wood ash into their food, they were completely mineralized because wood ash is the minerals that the plants sucked out of the ground and then that they metabolize, and then you burn the cellulose and the fibers and the sugars in the plant in the fire, but the heat of the fire cannot degrade the mineral. So the wood ash is like 99% minerals, and when you put that stuff in the garden, the plants suck it up, you eat the plants, and now you've got minerals in your body. You put the ash directly in your stew, now you've got minerals in your body. And this is why, historically, the old-time acupuncturists and the old-time homeopaths, the homeopaths of the 19th century and the 18th century, got way better results than we do now. Because back in the day, before they invented electricity, everybody was using culinary ash, and the majority of the population were walking around in bodies that were mineralized. And when you deliver energy medicine into a body that's been mineralized, it produces a much better result. All right, I've said my piece. Now I'm going to shut up, Blake, and let you do the talk and tell me what the problem is and how can I help.
Oh, well, my father's been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and much to my chagrin, I don't know if the doctors even considered Korsakoff's or any other thing. He kind of just has told my father that this is the beginning and this is how it will be, and you just have to accept it. And my father, knows nothing of medical anything, and which is just fine, but so he's kind of accepting this. And I told him, well, wait, I think I know who to call. I'm going to call someone. And so I'm here now. And,
all right, let me tell you. All right, thanks. So now don't go anywhere, and don't hang up on him, sound guy. Let me tell you what I've learned from Dr. Wallach about this. First of all, and you're right about Korsakoff's, because you can only diagnose Alzheimer's once someone's died. You can only diagnose Alzheimer's once somebody is dead, and you do an autopsy. post-death. You cut the brain open, look at it under a microscope. Yep, that was Alzheimer's. Might not be Alzheimer's. Might be Sundowner syndrome, which is Korsakoff syndrome, the end stage of Korsakoff. So you don't know, right? So in any event, what we do, whether it's Korsakoff, Sundowners, any other type of dementia, or in fact Alzheimer's disease, it's more or less the same therapeutic anyway. We give the brain the stuff that the brain is made from and the stuff that's affected negatively in the brain from Alzheimer's, which is cholesterol. The majority of the brain affected by Alzheimer's is the white matter of the brain, and the white matter of the brain is mostly made from cholesterol. So in anybody that's suffering with Alzheimer's, the recommendation is a diet that is extremely high in cholesterol. Now, Wallach would recommend, 6 to 12 eggs a day. I don't know whether that's realistic or not, but, get him a cholesterol pill. There's a company that makes a cholesterol pill, and you can find it. They'll give it to you. They'll sell it to you as an acupuncturist. That's what I would do. I would give him 3 or 4 eggs a day with butter and salt and, buy a pill that has concentrated cholesterol in it and have him swallow a couple of those a day, number one. Number two, it's our belief that Alzheimer's specifically is caused by oxidative damage to the central nervous system, oxidative damage. So, by eliminating the 10 bad foods from your father's diet, you're going to dramatically reduce the amount of oxidative stress in his body, and then we need to overload him with antioxidants. The recommendation here would be between 50 and 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day. Between 50 and 100,000 ORAC points of antioxidants a day, and selenium. Selenium dosed at 1 bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per day. The Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack dosed at 1 Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, and the selenium was 1 bottle per 50 pounds per month. Stick around, Blake. We'll take this up on the other end of the break, and we'll dial it in a little bit more. I appreciate the call. Ladies and gentlemen, stick around. Who's that riding over the ridge to the rescue? Well, it's me, the one, the only, Dr. Peter Glidden here with the acupuncturist star from Pennsylvania, Blake, calling us to talk about his father's Alzheimer's. So, Blake, it's basically a diet that's high in cholesterol, a diet that's really low in foods that have oxidative stress, so he's got to eliminate the 10 bad foods, and the healthy, 1 Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack contains per serving, in the Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack, there's a product called Cell Shield RTQ. 1 capsule of Cell Shield has 8,000 ORAC in it, and 1 scoop or 2 scoops of the Beyond Tangy Tangerine have 6,000 ORAC in it, so that's 12,000 ORAC a day if he does 2 scoops of the Beyond Tangy and 1 scoop of the 1 capsule of the Cell Shield. Of course, he's going to be doing more than that, but that's the basic math that you want to do to give him his baseline antioxidant score. And then on top of that, with herbs and food and tea, you can increase his ORAC score, and the recommendation there is over 50,000, 50 to 100,000 a day of ORAC.
I'm sorry. He's been carrying around Pepto-Bismol like it should be strapped on his hip, ready to draw at any time for the past 20 years. So, yeah. I'm just concerned that anything that, I'm going to start this protocol with him, but I want to make sure he absorbs it first. So is there any, like the herbal rainforest or anything that maybe he should cleanse himself with first?
No, but I like how you think. We're not going to do a cleanse, but, Pepto-Bismol is taken by people who suffer from chronic heartburn, right? So the MDs will tell you incorrectly that chronic heartburn is caused by too much stomach acid. They're absolutely 100% wrong, and they should have their licenses yanked because of it. They've gotten it completely wrong. That's like telling you that arthritis is caused by a possession by an evil spirit. Well, no, it's not. It's got nothing to do with that. It's caused by not enough minerals in your joints. Well, heartburn isn't caused by too much stomach acid. It's nonsense. It's caused by not enough stomach acid. Now, if he doesn't have enough stomach acid so much that he has chronic heartburn, then guess what? He ain't digesting anything out of his food. And even if he eats 100% organic and chews it 100 times, he's swallowing swallows it, his stomach acid isn't strong enough to digest air, for goodness sake. So this could be the root cause of the problem, is chronic, undetected low levels of stomach acid. So what do we do to fix that? Well, ironically, this is one of the easiest things in the world to fix, is chronic heartburn, because all that you need to do to fix that is give the body extra calcium and have him start salting his food, because the parietal cells of the stomach, the stuff that squirts out hydrochloric acid, need calcium to squirt that stuff out. It's also necessary for the production of gastrin, which is a very important digestive acid. And the stomach needs chloride from salt to make HCl, hydrochloric acid. That's where it gets it from. It gets most of the chloride that it needs from salt. So if your father starts salting his food so that it tastes good, and just as the anti-aging healthy start pack, because that's going to have the calcium in it that he needs, I'm predicting that within 14 days he'll be able to stop the Pepto-Bismol, because the heartburn will have disappeared. Now, into the bargain, as a little insurance policy, because for goodness sake, he's been taking Pepto-Bismol, right, for way too long, you can add to that program 1 or 2 bottles a month of Ultimate Enzymes. Ultimate Enzymes. That's the digestive enzyme that we recommend. And, you know, it's kind of like priming the pump of the stomach. He probably won't need to do that for more than 4 weeks. But you can give him 2 or 3 of the digestive enzymes at the very beginning of each meal for 4 weeks. And that will help to up the ante with his stomach acid, help him to be able to reduce the Pepto-Bismol and eliminate it without any symptoms, right? And then his system will start to digest food appropriately. So that's a really pretty important piece there, the Ultimate Enzymes, plus start salting his food appropriately. Now, the last thing, because who knows, it might be sundowners, might not be Alzheimer's, because the MDs are idiots. Give him the de-stress, because if it is sundowners, it's a simple thiamine deficiency, vitamin B1. And a longevity supplement that has the thiamine in it in appropriate amounts is de-stress, like detoxify, demystify, right, de-stress. So it would just be 1 bottle of de-stress a month. So, all right, to round it out, we're going to give him a couple of bottles of Ultimate Enzymes for the first month, 1 bottle of de-stress a month, 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, 1 anti-aging healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, plus a diet that's eliminated the 10 bad foods, that's extremely high in cholesterol. Life is good. Up the ante with his antioxidants to a minimum of 50,000 a month, a day, 50,000 a day, and call me back in a month with a report. Thanks so much, Blake. I appreciate everything that you do. You are the last best hope your community has for a long, healthy life. Keep at it, brother. Hey, hey, hey. A little bit of Monica, a little bit of S.E. Linda from Pennsylvania. Thanks, S.E. Linda. How you doing? You are live.
Hello?
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Come in, Rangoon. Yes, I can. Thanks so much for holding on for so long. Yep, we're here. We're here. We're here. Hello, hello.
Okay. Hi, yeah. Okay, so you know my success story. I'm actually calling about something related to someone receiving plastic surgery and what type of supplements they could take before and after. They stay away from 10 bad foods, already on Healthy Start Pack and selenium and Z-Rad and Cherry Mins, but to ease in the surgery, what would you suggest?
Well, the only extracurricular thing they would need to do would be the killer biotic. Because the killer biotic will increase immune function, and that's an interesting thing to talk about, because most of the herbs in killer biotic work by increasing different parts of the immune system. They kind of upregulate different parts of the immune system. It's like kicks the immune system in the butt so that the immune system works better and faster and more efficiently. You know, one of the biggest things with a plastic surgery is secondary infections, right? So if you go into the surgical theater with an immune system that's already amped up, then you're going to go a long way towards preventively, secondary infections or even primary infections from happening in the areas of the surgical trauma. Now, the other thing is with any type of surgical procedure, I don't care if it's inpatient or outpatient, I don't care what it is. It's a stress to the human body. And when they do plastic surgery, of course, they knock you out with anesthesia. Well, the anesthesia drugs work by burning through vitamins and minerals. That's how they work. They invoke biochemical pathways and stimulate this pathway and that pathway and whatever. And they don't do that through fairy dust and pixie dust. They do that through burning through your vitamin and mineral stores. So in order to be able to handle the stress of any surgical procedure, especially if they put you to sleep, going into surgery with a body that's been, 90 for life for a couple of months, plus eliminate the 10 bad foods is just, it should be mandatory. Honestly, if I was the king of the world, it would be mandatory for anybody who's even thinking about surgery to be on the 90 for life for 3 months before they go under the knife. Because if they did that, they'd have much better outcomes and much faster recovery times. I'll tell you a story. I have a nephew years ago. This was years and years ago. 15, probably 16, 17 years ago. He was a landscaper at the time and blew out his Achilles. He ruptured his Achilles, which is the tendon that attaches your calf muscle to your heel, right? It attaches your calf muscle to your heel. He completely ripped off in him, and his calf muscle rolled all the way up into his knee, right? Imagine that. That's a surgical emergency. You can't fix that with medical nutrition, so the surgeons had to go in, operate, pull that tendon down, and sew it back onto the bone. How about that? Reattach it to the bone, to his heel. And, thank God for Novocaine. Thank God for the sterile technique, because when surgery's indicated, it's awesome. He did a medical nutrition program pre and post surgery, and he recovered. They thought it was going to take him 6 months. He recovered in 6 weeks. The doctors couldn't believe how fast he recovered. And, of course, none of them called me up to ask me what I did. Oh, you must have the good gene, of course, right? So I'm telling you that anybody that has any type of surgical procedure whatsoever, if they do the 90 for life pre and post-surgery, they're going to recover in record time. The medical doctors are going to be dumbfounded, and life is going to be good. So, you're a smart girl. The only thing additional that I would add into the bargain here would be the killer biotic, and I would take 9 killer biotic a day for a week before surgery, and I would take 9 killer biotic a day for 3 weeks post-surgery, in addition to everything else. Does that sound like a plan?
Sound like a plan. What about Z-Radical?
Z-Radical's never a bad idea. Z-Radical, of course, has been proven to increase the rate at which cancer cells die. Z-Radical has been proven to kill cancer cells. Z-Radical has been proven to reduce inflammation. Z-Radical has been proven to upregulate the immune system, so that's never a bad idea. Also, really, I guess what it all falls back on is budget, right? So the first thing that I would lean on adding would be the killer biotic, and then the second thing would be the Z-Radical. And if money's not an option, but not an obstacle, if money is not an obstacle, then of course, it's one bottle of Z-Radical a week. That's what I do. 1 bottle of Z-Radical a week. That's really good prevention, and, beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick.
What about Ultimate Daily?
Not really necessary. Now, listen, we could go all crazy here because there's 500 nutritional supplements that Youngevity has, and they're all good for different things. So we need to rein this in a little bit inside the land of reality, and that wouldn't be the first thing that I would do. That, I wouldn't do that at all, quite frankly. If it's simple plastic surgery, you might want to consider, right, because most plastic surgery involves the skin. You might want to give extra skin support, and extra skin support would be glucogel. So you could give more glucogel, 1 capsule per 10 pounds of body weight per day, to support and promote the structure and function of the skin, because the skin's going to be under assault, with most types of plastic surgery, whether it's a tummy tuck or whether it's a facelift or whether it's a boob job or whatever. It's all done through the skin, right? So when I'm talking about this out loud and thinking about it, the next thing that I would do before the Z-Radical would be glucogel. So in order of importance, the add-ons to the Healthy Start Pack plus the diet would be Killer Biotic, glucogel, Z-Radical, in that order. And I like the way that you think, Esselinda. You're doing a really, really good job. How's it going, by the way, in Pennsylvania with your longevity business?
My parents started 3 weeks ago. Both were on diabetes pills and high blood pressure pills. Both of them have been ordered by their stupid MDs, but they were smart with this, to get off of it. Both of my parents have lost over 15 pounds already, and this is the truth. It's no joke, you know. Fire your MD and get on these supplements, whether you have good health like myself or you have bad health like my parents. It's the best thing ever, the best.
You go, girl. It's people like you that are going to change the world. Remember, Wallach and I are up in the wheelhouse, but it's everybody else that's running around that's really keeping the ship afloat. If it weren't for people like you, right, we'd just be on the mountaintop waving over a flag and nobody's listening. We're all in this together, girl. I appreciate everything that you do. You know, really, I say this all the time, and it's not tongue-in-cheek, and I am not blowing smoke. It is the God's honest truth. You are, and every longevity representative, you and every longevity representative are the last best hope that your friends and family and church members and community members have. You're it. You are the final line of defense that your community has for living safe, healthy, wealthy lives. So get out there and get her done, girl. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm very, very proud of everything that's happening down there in the great state of Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for the phone call. All right, news flash, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the reasons why I love Canada. They do some progressive stuff. I'm reading a research study that was just published. I'm reading this off of Medscape. Toronto. Study done in Toronto says the addition of naturopathic care on top of usual care, MD care, significantly reduced the 10-year risk of cardiovascular disease among adults. So they did a study with adults who had cardiovascular disease who did naturopathic therapies against a cohort that didn't do naturopathic therapies. And there was a significantly better outcome, statistically significantly better outcome in the patients that did the naturopathic stuff in addition to the MD stuff. But here's where my goat, it really gets my goat. And talk about not knowing what you don't know, right? Here's what an MD said about this. Dr. Nathan Wong of the University of California at Irvine said, "It is great to see these positive benefits on cardiovascular disease risk resulting from naturopathic physicians' counseling on lifestyle. The results are not surprising, given that we know multiple lifestyle sessions, as was used in this study, can reduce cardiovascular risk factors and would be superior to the generally poor state of usual care." Well, again, the MDs get it wrong. Because it's not the counseling that does it, it's the vitamins and minerals and nutritional supplements that do it. And they also are not going to recognize the obvious. The obvious is that their therapeutics fail. It's their therapeutics that are the reason that heart disease is getting worse. It's their failed therapeutics that are the reason that arthritic cases are getting more and more and more. And every orthopedic surgeon in the world is rubbing their hands together with glee because here come the baby boomers, each with 300 joints in their body. Oh, like the Borg. Like the Borg. Resistance is futile. And they're looking at knee replacements and hip replacements and shoulder replacements and shoulder replacements and knee replacements and hip replacements and finger replacements. Oh, my God. They do not recognize the obvious because it's right in front of their face. And, you know, a slave owner is never going to say that slavery is bad. It ain't going to happen. Somebody who's hiring children to work is never going to say that slave labor is reprehensible. What do you mean? We're giving the kids 3 square meals a day and a roof over their head. They should be grateful for it, right? So goes the prejudice. So goes the prejudice. We are a small army of like-minded individuals who have seen the light. And, I hate to keep using these biblical spiritual references. Well, I don't really hate to do it. I like to do it. But I'm not exaggerating. This is not political stuff that we're talking about. Are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Are you a conservative? Are you a liberal? Or, are you for welfare? Are you against welfare? Whatever. These are important issues, but this medical stuff is life and death. And, into the bargain, pain and suffering or lack thereof. This is as real as it gets. So if I seem a little filled with gravitas and a little extra dramatic, it's on purpose. Because for goodness sake, we're dying. But before we're dying, we're suffering, going bankrupt, and then we're dying. So not only are we dead, but our financial legacy for our kids is vaporized, and they're left blowing in the wind. Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you very much, bus driver MD. I think not. It's time to draw the line in the sand. This far and no further. You are the point between which good and evil exists. You are the point between which health and disease exists. You are the tipping point between wealth and poverty. Join Longevity. Get out there. Show what we're doing to everyone who will listen and make a difference. 866-582-9933. Lines open. 855-347-3696. That's the podcast number. That's the number to call if you're listening to the podcast and would like information about the health opportunity or the wealth opportunity. Or, just to talk to somebody about what we're doing here at 855-347-3696. And, of course, 24/7 on the World Wide Web. FireYourMDNow.com or FireYourMDNow.ca. Check it out. Get your health back. Now, in World War II, you had, of course, the evil, smarmy, unbelievably satanic Nazis. And you had a whole host of Germans who were not Nazis, and you had the good Germans, the people in the country who were not in the army. They're just Germans. They knew what the Nazis were doing, but they did nothing about it. The people in the German infantry who were not Nazis knew what the Nazis were doing, but they did not do anything about it. There is something in the world of debate. When you're debating people, there's a certain debate strategy called ad hominem. There's an ad hominem attack, which is when you cluster a group of people together as a whole and make a statement against the group as a whole. It's an ad hominem attack. And I am being public. This might be the first time I've stated this in public in the public domain. I am guilty of promoting an ad hominem attack against the MDs and the allopaths. 100% guilty as charged, and in fact proud of it. Why is this? Well, not every medical doctor is an idiot. Not every MD has aligned themselves against the naturopaths. Not every MD is a member of the American Medical Association. Not every MD has gone out of their way to put my colleagues in jail and to slander the chiropractors and the acupuncturists and the naturopaths. Not every MD has done this. But quite frankly, the entire profession has a reputation for doing this. And a large majority, a large percentage of the allopathic MD profession are in fact guilty of doing all of those things and many, many more. Medical doctors aren't really physicians anymore. They're shills for the pharmaceutical company. They're not physicians. They're not interested in the cause and the cure of disease. They're drug salesmen. That's all that they are, especially in the United States and Canada. Now, you know, they've also gone out of their way to corrupt the scientific pool, to fiddle with the data. The pharmaceutical industry has a lockdown on everything, as according to the Food and Drug Administration, if it's not a drug, it can't cure anything. You can't have a testimonial for a vitamin product. That's against the law. You can't put on a bottle of water treats dehydration because it's only a drug that can treat a physical condition. This has all been forwarded by the MDs. And the MDs are, even if they're not actively involved with the anti-holistic campaign, by virtue of their education and what they do every day in their office, they support and promote and gain benefit and social status from the medical profession that does go out of its way to keep my colleagues underneath the heel of their jackboot. Not all Germans were Nazis, but they didn't do anything about the Nazis, and therefore they're guilty. Because the only MD that I respect is the MD that has eschewed their medical degree, they've given it up, and they become a naturopathic doctor, or they work exclusively in military field hospitals doing emergency medicine or in trauma clinics. I got no problem with those people. But quite frankly, everybody else, the vast majority of the swarms of MDs that are abroad all throughout the world are all guilty by association of supporting and promoting a profession which is the leading cause of death in the United States, the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States, and under whose tutelage cancer is getting worse, chronic disease is getting worse, and life expectancy is getting less. They are to be avoided like the plague. Dr. Glidden, guilty as charged of ad hominem, encouraging you today and every day to fire your MD now. Check it out online. FireYourMDNow.com, FireYourMDNow.ca. I am Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health. I'll see you tomorrow.